All right, on this episode of the LPDS, we get into some tinfoil hat updates, quick garden update, a quick recap of the latest stream, the latest Yankees live stream. I have some tips and tricks for some of the outdoor cats in the online dating world. I get into a bit of a rant and vent session about the negative Nancys of the world that I've been having a problem with. And of course, we have a nice little Cage fact. All that coming to you right now. All right, Jabronis, we're back. Welcome back to Libretti Podcast Diary Show. I'm your host, Libretti, the show that talks about nothing but tries to find the lessons in everything, and we have a good time doing it. Hope everybody had a good week. Mine was pretty decent, productive, busy, a little hectic, trying to get a lot of things figured out with job and business and life and all that good stuff. So, just trying to make it all work as usual, but it's been a decent week otherwise. So I am having a little problem with my vegetable garden. I talked about how I put the plants in a little early, some of them, to test it out. Well, literally 3 days later, after I talked about that, we had 2 straight days of solid downpour all day, both days. And I think of the 5 plants that were left, not the rogue tomato plant that's big, that one's fine. Of the other 5 that are left, I think maybe 1 or 2 plants will remain from that. So they just got drowned. They just got drowned out by the rain. So I still have the other half, though. So I'm not terribly worried about it. In fact, the pots that I have, there's 2 plants in each pot. So I think we're okay in that regard. I think what I'm going to do next year, I have to actually take action on this. I'm gonna build like a little clear covering, plastic covering, and plant right in the ground immediately, and just put the coverings over like a little mini greenhouse until they're big enough to survive on their own from the elements, if you will. I'll make sure they get watered, obviously, but they'll have sun and they'll have the actual environment to tap into in the full ground. So we'll see how it goes. Anyway, I don't really have a whole heck of a lot. There's a couple of things that I wanted to rant about, and maybe we'll all learn some lessons out of all that stuff. But it shouldn't take too long. We'll see how that goes. Very quickly, as usual, while the files are still out there and nothing's being done, this is your weekly reminder that they're covering up the biggest corruption in U.S., maybe world history. I say world only because it involves so many other players around the world, but don't forget about that. I saw a video by a retired FBI agent, and he said that this tactic is by the Department of Justice, by throwing all these files and with redacted information out there, and then trying to, having the media cover it up with war in the Middle East or chaos in with ICE here in the cities and stuff. That is a common tactic to get people off the scent, if you will. Let it die down so that they can feign transparency, but in reality they're just covering the whole thing up and hope, using the distraction and the division for everything to go away. All the other noise going on, maybe it'll go away. I also did see this thing. Oh, real quick. That guy also said that, think of it like this. Think of it as if you're a trial attorney and both attorneys are trying to prove their case to the jury. So they're going to do what they can to take all the data, all the information, all the evidence they have, and clearly idiot-proof it for the jury on why the defendant is either not guilty, or if the prosecution is up there, why he is guilty or she. And they're gonna spell it out and cut right to it. They're gonna do all the research themselves. They have all the information. They're the ones who are gonna describe it and spell it out for you to plead the case. What the DOJ did was basically, if they were an attorney and they took the jury outside, that it was time for them to plead their case, closing arguments, and they took the jury outside to an 18-wheeler truck. They opened it up, and it's filled with all the evidence, documents. The whole thing is filled with boxes of files. And said, here it is. Oh, by the way, a lot of it is blacked out with marker, so you can't read all this stuff. But here is everything we have on the case, supposedly blocked out, redacted. Deliberate and make your decision. Here you go. Because in reality, no self-respecting lawyer would ever do that if they want to win a case, if they want to prove innocence or guilt, depending on which side of the aisle they're on. And that's what the DOJ is doing. They feel they have nothing to prove. They don't want to prove anything because they know what we want when it comes to accountability and justice. They can't provide, because then they're all going down with that ship. So they gave us the 18-wheeler of half-assed documents, redacted to protect everybody, all out of context, no order, no connections whatsoever, and they just left it to the internet sleuths to waste their time, essentially, take time out of their days to connect the red yarn together on their walls. That's what they did. And then instead of us being able to loudly demand accountability, they have the media snuff it out with other shit going on. War with Iran. ICE stuff. DHS is shut down. That's another thing, by the way. The DHS has been shut down for 60 days now or something like that. I think they started funding the TSA as like some sort of provision. But otherwise, the DHS has been shut down for that long. A quick kind of funny point to that. Also, caveat in this whole thing, I believe ICE gets paid outside of the DHS shutdown. I think they already had a budget separate for them, so they were never not getting funded by this shutdown, which was one of the quote-unquote reasons they shut it down, to try to stop, to slow down the ICE shit, and they didn't do it because they were getting paid regardless. So that whole political ploy backfired. Or really didn't. They knew it wasn't going to work anyway. It was political theater. But here's what I just want to bring up to people. It's been shut down for 60 plus days, I think. Once they started paying TSA, has it really negatively affected anybody? I feel bad for the TSA agents who had to deal with all that, and probably, had to leave the job to go find some other work in the whole thing. Randy, stop that. But if this is not proving the point of, there are probably a lot of government-run organizations out there that really aren't nearly as important as they say they are. Don't forget, DHS came out at 9/11. We didn't have it beforehand. and they claim we need it. They claim they're doing all this great stuff, and they didn't do all negative stuff. But if it, the the need for us to build this albatross of a government organization that has not functioned at all for 60 days, and once they started funding the TSA, zero effects on the citizens. I don't know. It seems to me like they can maybe just absorb that organization and anything of importance that they were doing, put it in another already existing organization. But I know they won't do that. It's just funny to me that they're trying to prove their points here and do their little political theater by shutting down these organizations, and they're proving their uselessness to us. So anyway, that's all I have to say about that. Quick recap on last week's stream. I loved it. Had a great time. Yanks came out with a victory against the Sox. It was another fun stream. Everybody who tuned in, even if it was for a quick second, I appreciate you. Thank you for doing that. It's always a fun time. It's just I'm really enjoying the connection there that provides live and the fun we can have. We're answering the trivia question during the game together. We're sharing stories and memories of the good old days. We're shit talking. It's been fun so far. So definitely got to keep that going. That being said, I don't know when you're going to tune into this episode, but I think the next stream is going to have to be Tuesday of this week. I'll put it out on the airwaves, Instagram, Facebook, what have you. But I believe it's an afternoon game Wednesday, the day I usually want to do it. So we might have to push ahead to Tuesday. So stand by for that. We'll make it happen. There's going to be a couple weeks here that in a couple weeks I can't do a stream because I'll be on the road for a work trip, I believe. So I'll keep you apprised of all that stuff. But the streams are still going to happen when they can because they're super fun. And tell your friends and enemies about it. And if you want to even pop in for a quick shit talk, I'm always there for that. So it's just fun. It's just a good time, Anyway, no need to talk about baseball because we do it on the stream now. Unless there's something pressing that I want to get off my chest and cry and whine about, we'll just do it on the stream. So there you go. All right, moving on. This is just a quick vent and also a little tips and tricks for the outdoor cats out there in the dating world and the online dating world. Okay? And there's not going to be many of you, but I don't understand why this is still going on, but it's still going on. If your first several photos, or even your first 2 photos, or even your first photo, okay, is a group photo, the people looking at your profile are assuming you're the ugliest one in the photo. Men and women. They're assuming you're the ugliest one in the photo. Now, I know there are apps out there that do what they call the smart photo. If you enable it, and they'll put your first photo, your main photo, as whatever their algorithm says is the most popular, the people are engaging with the most or looking at the most or whatever. However they run it in their back end, that's what they're doing. But if that, everybody knows that. Everybody who's out there on the apps knows that. So to make the preponderance of your photos group photos, you're basically telling the world, I am not confident in myself physically in photos or just in real life at all, and I have to tuck myself away, and hopefully by the time you scroll to a solo photo, I have wowed you with my prompt replies, and then you're going to look at me and be like, this person is still cool though, so maybe I'll still swipe right on them. I assure you that's not happening. I assure you that's not happening. And here's the thing about it. You could call it shallow or superficial, but two things. One, 98% of the time, when we see the group photo and we're guessing, oh, this is probably the least attractive person in this photo, 98% of the time, that is the case. We are correct when we're looking at that. The 2% is, there's of that 2%, there is 1.9 of that 2% is, it's a group of all attractive men or women. Everybody's good looking. And even if you're the least quote unquote good looking of the bunch, you're still good looking. And the 0.1% of that 2% is you are actually the good looking one in your group photo. And you just decided to put group photos up predominantly anyway for some reason. But otherwise, we know you're the uggo, guy or girl. I've seen it all the time. And it's time to stop that. Now, to stop that, because here's what people do, the mental gymnastics they do, the two mental gymnastics things that they try to convince themselves why they have it up there. One is because they blame the smart photo thing on the apps. Oh, well, I set it up as my fourth photo, and the smart photo put it up as number one, so I can't help that. And two, the second gymnastics excuse they use is, well, this shows that I'm just not like a weirdo with no friends. I actually go out and I have friends and I'm social, and that gives me, shows my value, part of my value. Both of those are technically true, but realistically, we can see through the bullshit. Because the simple fix to all this, and this is something that dating coaches all over the place, I see them all online. Dating coaches, this is the biggest thing that they actually suggest when it comes to group photos. Because they say, yeah, you could put a group photo in to show that you have a social life, or if maybe it's a family photo or whatever, but block out the other people's faces. That's all you have to do. You can put little smiley face emojis over the top, and you can edit this in your phone. You don't need a special program or a special app to do it. In your photo gallery, you can do it. You just click edit, and you can put them in there. Or you can marker over them in the editing portion of your phone. Just block out their faces, not even their bodies, just their faces. And I've seen people do that. And that's A-okay. You're absolutely okay, because now it shows, hey, I have friends, I'm social, I'm a real human being, we're out and about. And also, I'm not gonna leave the guessing game to you, because that's deceptive. Okay, it's not about superficial just looks and stuff like that. It's about being deceptive. For whatever reason, even if the reason is something legitimate, like I'm not self-conscious about myself or whatever it is, I get that. I get that way too, about my body and my physical appearance. Especially with the brothers out there. I'm not the tallest. I'm actually the shortest, next to the two public enemies of the LPDS, Weasel and Dangerous. I think I'm the next shortest after those two dweebs. And everybody is in shape and very good looking fellas, hunky guys. So when it comes to physical appearance, yeah, I get self-conscious a lot about that when I'm taking group photos with the gang. But it's deceptive to try to hide in that and make other people guess, or try to, oh, well, if they read my profile, they'll see that I'm funny and smart and I have ambition. And then when they see my solo photo at the bottom and I'm the least attractive of all the brothers, then they'll still be like, it's okay, everything else he's got going for him. No, that's deceptive, and that's not how you want to start any sort of relationship. So please, I'm begging everybody out there, if you are an outdoor cat or if you have friends who are outdoor cats, please tell them. Stop it with the group photos unless you're covering faces up and you're making it very clear who you are. We know the reasons why you're not doing that, and they're all bullshit. Okay? That's all I got to say about that. With that, let's get right into the good stuff, all right? Let's step into the cage.
Okay, let's run.
All right. Today's Into the Cage segment is proudly sponsored by Clark Bar Fingers. Have you ever been on the road and the only thing to eat are the Clark bars and the motel vending machines, but you just wish there was a little more substance to them? Well, now there is with the Clark Bar Fingers. Take a bite into what looks like a standard vending machine chicken finger and let the pleasant shock take over when you realize that there's a scrumptious Clark bar deep fried inside that chicken breading. What the hell is this? Oh, so to make all your motel dreams come true with the Clark Bar Fingers, simply head on over to the local Rub and Tug Red Roof Inn, and if you use the promo code FingerMeClark at the front desk, the clerk will give you 29% towards your Clark Bar Finger at their vending machine. You're getting out of hand, folks. Getting out of hand. Anyway, the Cage Fact. Just an update. Just a quick Cage update for everybody out there. We talked about this a while back. Nic Cage is he signed on to do a movie with John Woo, who he's worked with in the past on some great films. And it's the Gambino movie called Gambino. It's the mob stuff. We talked about this already. But the update is that they are officially set to shoot this summer. So that is going to be actually in the works coming up this summer, 2026, with a likely 2028 release date, depending on how long it takes to shoot and produce and all the how you doings there. I don't know how in-depth this production's going to be. So, but that's exciting stuff because you got, the Lord of War stuff is wrapped. Spider-Man Noir comes out in May. He was just already filming that movie in Arkansas, The Best Pancakes in the Country or something like that. So he's still working. He is still working. Randy, don't sit. No, you're not allowed to sit there. Sorry, folks. Randy is taking liberties with the couch these days. Anyway, that's it. That's the Cage Fact. Very quick. There you go. No nonsense. You're welcome. We'll move on over to the Junction. We'll spin the logo up. Again, I don't have much, but this is similar to my rant about the group photos in the outdoor cat world. This is a venting session and then a recommendation. I'm not begging you, but I'm asking for people help. For some help here. And it's this crowd of people out there in society, and we all know at least one of these people. We all know at least one of them. Thankfully, nobody in the brotherhood is really like this in all seriousness. But it's what I call the "of course this happens to me" crowd. And I'm not talking about the people who bitch about things in jest. I'm talking about the perma victims out there that whatever happens in their lives that they perceive to be negative, which is most things in these people's lives, you get the whole, of course this would happen to me. Of course when I'm in a hurry and the one time I'm running late, I hit every red light. Why wouldn't that happen to me? Those are the people I'm talking about. And I'm talking about the ones who do it in a serious way. Because we've all joked, we've all said that flippantly. where we're trying to do something and it's like, oh yeah, of course I dropped my keys in between my seat or my phone when I'm trying to show you this picture. Ha ha ha. But in reality, it's like it's really not a big deal. Get over it. I'm talking about the people who've made it a lifestyle to complain about everything and think that the world, the universe, the big man upstairs in red is out to get them. That everything that happens to them and against them. And the things that happen for them or that benefit their lives are just luck. And like I said, we've all had those people in our lives. And they're, for the most part, good people. They're not really pieces of shit. They're not bad human beings. They're just the complainers of the world and the perma victims out there. But as I get older and as I try to continue to improve and update my own mindset in life towards productivity and gratitude and taking action in those mindsets, I am getting less and less patient with those people. With the "of course it happens to me" crowd. Again, it's not because they're bad people. It's just because when you surround yourself with energy like that in your lives, you become that. And we've discussed this in the past. You are what you surround yourself with. You are the sum of the 5 people you hang around with most. If you hang around with 5 millionaires, you'll eventually be the 6th. If you hang out with 5 broke dick beta bitch boys, you will eventually be the 6th. Okay? It's like mold on fruit. If you surround one moldy strawberry with 18 fresh, healthy strawberries, guess what happens? You're going to get 19 moldy strawberries. You can't escape it. The negative takes over. And here's why the negative takes over, even if you don't want it to. If you're not aware of it, if you let it happen to you. Because our brains, our entire human biology was built and created to be in survival mode. Okay? Our brains have not evolved that much from when we were all living outside as cavemen and women. Okay? And this is science. This is not me guessing and making this shit up. You can go look at studies and studies on the brain and neurology and all the stuff that they've been doing off of history and now. That part of the brain has not tremendously evolved drastically in ourselves. We have evolved. Our existence has evolved to where we don't need to be in fight or flight mode and survival mode for our lives nearly as much, for the survival of our actual existence, because we're not living outside having to fight off the elements and predators. And just the fact, just fighting off the possibility that we don't have food for that day if we can't hunt or fish or whatever. But the survival instinct is still in us. And that has just simply adapted to our current environment. So it's constantly on alert for the negative, not because we want to live in the negative. It's because we are programmed to look for the danger, and the negative is danger, and then try so we can protect ourselves from that negative, from that danger. That's how our brains are operating. But if we do nothing about that, if we can't recognize when that's happening and then take steps to adjust our circuitry in our brain in that moment and build some neuroplasticity in our brain to to expand our comfort zones, if you will, and to move towards solution focus and productivity, if we don't do that, then the negativity engulfs us. And if that happens enough, then you become of course it happens to me person. And you get it inside your head that everything negative or not 100% positive going on in your lives is happening against you because, of course, it happens to me that way. Of course, it rained on my plants as the week I planted them to the point where they're drowning now. Of course, there was a big windstorm to knock them over. Of course, there's a leak in my house. Why wouldn't there be? It's my house. I just bought it. It's a brand new house. Why wouldn't there be a leak? Why does this stuff always happen to me? Of course, it happens against me and to me. And the good stuff is just dumb luck because it doesn't. It so rarely happens. And here's the thing with that, folks. It so rarely happens because we're not doing anything to actively shift our mindset to go towards that positive stuff. Okay? While our brain has not, evolved drastically from the survival mindset, if you will, that survival instinct, our brain is still an incredibly powerful tool that we control within ourselves. We control it. It's a response tool. Okay? And what happens to most of us most of the time? Our brain responds to our emotional state and what's happening with our body in that regard. And let me give you an example of that. And again, I'm not a scientist, so I'm not speaking in absolutes here. But I've done enough education on this and work on this with professionals to have a grasp of the true nature of this stuff when it comes to mindset and being able to control and how it kind of works, generally speaking. So if you're a brain scientist, if you're a psychologist, whatever, call me out if I got anything wrong. I'm not claiming to be 100% right all the time and that it's my word against, or nothing. If I miss something, which I do all the time, let me know. But basically, whatever our emotional state is. So if we feel if there's danger out there, negativity, something happens to our body, okay? If you think about this, when you're angry, physical manifestations happen in your body. Maybe the hairs on the back of your neck stand up, or you start feeling hot. You start feeling your heart pumping faster. Physical manifestations happen in these states. And that's just your brain in its fight or flight mode and its basic survival instinct when it's like, oh, you feel afraid? This is the program that we have created for afraid. The thing is, we can control the program, the response in our brain. We first have to acknowledge what physical manifestations are happening during those particular moments, which is very difficult to do. And this is why it's so hard for people to kind of get out of your own way, for us to get out of our own way when it comes to changing our mindset and getting out of this. This is why people with things like depression, anxiety, get overly stressed. It's simple to do, but very hard to actually take action. The process is simple. All you have to do is recognize when you're in that state and do something different from before. But in reality, it's not that easy. It's just like following the big three. We talk about that a lot. Number 2 of the big three, don't be a shitty person or a negative person. Because in the moment, it's very difficult to acknowledge what's happening to our body in those negative states and to adjust fire so that we're not responding negatively and adding fuel to the negative shit fire. So this is not one of those things where I'm sitting here to try to tell people, just get over it. Just be tough, be an adult, and change overnight. That's not how it works. I understand that. So there has to be patience with yourself if you're trying to get better, and with others around you who are trying to get better with whatever things that they're going through. But the process is very basic and simple. If you're able to acknowledge the physical things that happen to you, and you know, like, oh, I'm getting goosebumps, this must mean XYZ. Normally what happens during XYZ is I do this, but I don't want to do that anymore because that keeps me in the negative and the shit victim life. So I'm not going to try to do this instead. And you try to work on that a little bit every day to get better at that. My problem that I have, one of my many faults, is that when I see people not trying to get better, not because they don't want to, but I think a lot of it has to do with because they don't think they can get better, so they don't try. My fault is I'm losing patience with those people. And that's not good on me, but it's just a reality situation that I'm working on myself to help gain that patience back with these people. But it's getting harder and harder because if you go all the way back to what I was talking about with you are who you surround yourself with, I don't want to surround myself with all these negative perma victims. And it's not just in person, it's online, it's everywhere. It's super easy to be like that online. And a lot of people do it because they get a lot of attention online for it. You find other like-minded individuals that see your post about, of course this happens to me, and they're like, yeah, doesn't it suck? It happens to me too. The world's out to get me too, and you create your own little like internet group, victim group. Or you get hate from people, and then you're like, of course people are going to hate. They just don't understand. People who don't understand are going to hate. It's like you're on the internet. There's always going to be haters and trolls and nut jobs. It's one of the reasons why I've been unfollowing. I think I've unfollowed 1,600 people in the last week and a half. Not people, but pages, profiles, I guess you can call them, to kind of get out of that negativity of social media. So I'm trying not to surround myself with those people. I'm trying to have empathy and patience with them, but at the same time, I can't keep myself around them just because I feel bad for them. There has to be, at some point, people have to start taking some self-responsibility and accountability for their own lives and start taking some sort of steps to improve themselves and get better and get out of that perma-victim mindset and try something different. Okay? Everything bad happens to you because you're not doing anything different. If you live in a world where bad things are happening and you're like, well, I'm not going to change anything, why are all the bad things still happening? It's because you're not changing. That's the definition of psychosis. Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. And again, I know it's not as easy. I'm not sitting here again saying like nobody should be depressed or have anxiety. You should just get better. No, I'm not saying that shit. But at some point, there has to be some hand up. I have to do something different. This is now on me. And it happens a lot, too, with people who blame their parents or other people for the shit storm that they live in, that they're is their life. And here's what I will say about that. You might be 100% correct that that the traits you exude now that you currently have, you could be 100% correct that they are all traits passed down to you from parents who made mistakes or they were actually shitty parents. And you have childhood traumas from that. And there's a lot of people out there that had shitty parents. And you became adults out of that shit life. And that's how you were brought up. And you were dealt a bad hand in that regard. 100%. It could be somebody else's fault. But at the end of the day, we are adults. And it is our responsibility to get out. You can't go back to your shitty parents or the shitty friend that fucked you over years ago or whatever it is, the uncontrollables that put you in a bad spot. And like I said, those can definitely be real. It could be not your fault that you're in a shitty position for whatever reason. But you can't go over there and point the finger at them and be like, hey, you have to fix this now. They're not going to. They're not going to fix that for you. Okay? And B, you can't sit there and be like, oh, I am the person I am because of them, and that's just the way it is. Nothing can ever change now. How do you expect your kids to change then? If they see you as the product of a shit upbringing possibly, and your mindset is, well, there's nothing I could do about it now. That's just how I was brought up. What are your kids are going to see that, okay? Through how you live and act. You might tell them all day long, hey, don't be like me. But we follow actions, okay? I can remember 1,000 times where my parents told us stuff. And they said that same thing. Don't do what we did. Do something different. But meanwhile, you see their actions and you're like, well, I'm a kid. I'm a parrot. I'm just going to do what the people I value most are doing. Actions always speak louder than words. So all this is to say is I need to work on myself. I need help with myself. I need your guys' help a little bit to let me know if I'm actively coming off as impatient with people. If you see me out, in the real world, if we're talking on sticks or if we're hanging out in person or whatever. But I am growing increasingly more impatient, and I want to distance myself more and more from these people, even if they're good people and they're friends or family or whatever. I guess the question I have is, at what point are you justified in breaking away from these perma victims, these of course it happens to me types who can't get out of their own way? How do you have the conversation with them? Hey, it's time that you work to help yourself. You have to take some responsibility and take action yourself to better yourself. What is the threshold when you can walk away and not feel guilty about it? I don't know. That's kind of the conundrum I'm in with my life, because I can't stand that shit. And I'm doing the best I can to deep down take that LPDS step back, take that deep breath, and empathize and realize these, they're not bad people. They deserve to get better and get help. But holy shit, does it suck being in a room full of those people, or even just a room with one person, because they're usually the loudest in the room too. They usually love telling people about how shitty their lives are because everything happens against them, right? You're at a party, you're at a get-together, you're talking to them, you're even just catching up one-on-one with them, and that's the conversation. Hey, how you doing? Oh, let me tell you how I'm doing. I was going to the doctor because I have this and this, and of course the doctors can't figure it out, because why would I have a known issue? Of course I have a mystery issue, and they can't figure it out, and then I got a flat tire on the way to the doctor, and then I couldn't be helped then, so it was just prolonging my issue even farther. Then I had to figure out how to put the tire in. My parents sucked. They never taught me how to change a tire, so I had to call up AAA. And of course, they were like, oh, we're 45 minutes away. Well, I don't have 45 minutes. What the hell am I supposed to do? Sit here and wait? I got a doctor's appointment. Don't you understand? And it's just like, holy shit. Shut up. How do you live like that? Don't you realize that you won the fucking universal lottery by just being born? You had like a 1 in 4 trillion chance that your spermies were the one that actually connected with that egg and you popped out 10 months later. And all you can do in your first world home with the roof over your head and HVAC and running water is sit there and bitch about everything happening against you? Like, what the fuck is that? I can't deal with that shit. How do people live like that? Maybe it starts because they get some laughs, like they'll talk about it maybe as a joke and people will laugh about it. And then they see that they're getting some positive feedback, positive attention from them complaining in a humorous way. Maybe that's how it starts. And before you know it, they're addicted to that feeling. So they're just living in complainer's world. They're just living in victimville because they got that hit. It's like a high for them. I don't know how it starts. But I know once you get so deep in it, it's very difficult to dig out of that hole. And I'm trying to be empathetic and patient with that. But at the same time, it's like I can't sit here, we can't sit here and exist in that negativity and come out alive. Because we're going to turn into that. They're going to bring you down to those trenches with them and beat you down with their experience and turn you into the very thing that you were trying to get away from and trying to not become. And I know this because I'm a trench guy. I have my own trench that I live and exist in, that nobody's beating me in there. You come down in my trench, whatever it may be, usually legal, some sort of legal professional warfare, if you will, and I'm taking you down. We know this. But I don't want to be in their trench. But I also want to be supportive and understand that it's not as easy as it sounds to just improve that. It takes a while to build into that existence of being a miserable fuck. So it's going to absolutely take a while to get out. But how do you communicate? Like, how do you help them take step one? That's a frustration that I am dealing with a lot lately, and I can't seem to find the best way to do it. So if anybody has feedback on that or help, or what they've done in the past to help them take the first steps to get out of their own way, I'm all ears. Because there's going to come a point where there's going to be people in my existence that think I'm going to be that are going to think I'm an asshole now because I'm going to just bluntly tell them I can't be around you anymore. We can't be talking. You're a person I have to cut off at least temporarily. Because as much as I want to be there to support and understand what you're dealing with, I will emotionally die before you emotionally survive. And now there's two miserable fucks in the same circle. Can't have that. That's a losing battle. So if you are one of those folks, I'm sorry if I struck a chord with you, because I know initially the reaction emotionally is going to be, who's this fucking guy think he is? That's what I wanted to say. I wanted to sound a little bit more, have a little bit more gusto behind it, but the marbles in my mouth screwed that up. Who does this guy think he is? He just doesn't understand what I'm going through, and he just thinks, oh, it's so simple. Like, he's just going to cut us off because we're dealing with these serious issues, and it's not my fault everyone's out to get me. What do you want me to do? I want you to just try something different. I would love for those people to just try something different a couple times. And also understand that the first couple times it may not pan out. But I can guarantee you this, the thing you're currently doing also is not panning out. You're just choosing to stay there because it's the devil you know. Again, back to the brain, mindset, survival instinct. It's a comfort zone. It might be a shitty comfort zone. It might be a shitty existence that those people live in, where they have that mindset of everything's happening against me, and of course this happens to me all the time, and it's always shit and pessimism. But it's a comfort zone that they are familiar with. It is literally safe for them because they know they've existed in that zone for so long that their mind is comfortable there. That is considered safe for them. And doing something different is outside that comfort zone, and it's scary. And the survival instinct in us doesn't want to go out there in scary land. But in reality, if you think about it at a basic level, because everyone asks the questions, well, what if it doesn't work out? What if I try something different and something bad still happens? That's the fear of that unknown. And I get that. I get that way a lot in my own life with a lot of shit. And I try, and what I've been doing to tell myself is, listen, if I step out of the comfort zone and it doesn't work out, I'm just back to square one. I'm just back to my comfort zone. Also, I've actually expanded because now I know this thing doesn't work. This thing creates more negativity or whatever, more bad stuff, so I just won't do this thing anymore. Now I have lessons. Now I have extra knowledge to feed my brain so that we can continue adjusting the mindset a little bit further. Worst case scenario, I end up back in my comfort zone of shit and negativity. Right? So that's all I'm asking is try some things out and also understand that some things are not going to work. But you survive so long in this shitty comfort zone of negativity and everybody's out to get you. What's the worst that can happen? You go back to that? You're already existing in it. So that's the lesson and the message I'm trying to give out there. But also the lesson for me and the message I'm trying to pass out, is I'm trying to get better too. I'm trying to have a little bit of understanding and patience. But there is a threshold where I have to cut people out. And that's sort of the internal war I've been having with myself lately that I wanted to just talk and vent and bitch about today. Because I can't live in that world anymore. I just can't do it. I am not strong enough to survive in that world without becoming the very thing that I'm trying to survive against. And that's all I got to say about that. Life is not happening against you, folks, okay? This is not all I have to say about that, okay? I'm going to rant a little bit longer. There is no puppet master up there trying to go after you. There's 8 billion people in this world. You think the big man upstairs or some powerful force over us is looking at you directly and be like, I'm going to fuck with this guy for the rest of his life just because. Good luck having a good life because I'm doing things against you. Of course this is going to happen to you because I am the puppet master and I'm doing it. No, that's not how it's working. That doesn't make any sense. Why would there be this all-powerful being who's purposely trying to fuck with you? Oh, this guy was going to be too powerful and take over my spot as God or whatever. So I better make sure I keep them down so they don't succeed, so they can never take my spot. Like, that's not happening, folks. It's such a stupid thing to think. Of course this happens to me. Why wouldn't it happen to me? Stop it. Just stop it. Think about what you're saying here. Life doesn't happen to you unless you let it happen to you. Okay? And I get there's going to be ups and downs, and there's going to be times where we all feel like that. And I felt like that a lot in the past, and I know I'm going to feel that way again in the future sometimes. But it's just not the truth. It's our brains telling us to get back in our comfort zone. That must be why, because it's happening to us. So get back in your safe zone. It's just not the case. Now that's all I got to say about that. Before we go, Very quickly, the big three, the three pillars to staying strong and being a better, happier, kinder, healthier, less stressed, more genuine human being, and being able to spread that positivity and goodness to all those around you throughout the land. And actually, following the big three will very much help us get out of that crowd, that, of course, it happens to me crowd. Number one, exercise every day. Do something every day to improve your health and wellness and fitness physically, mentally, or emotionally. Okay? Number two, the hardest one to do, because of all the stuff we were just talking about, don't be a shitty negative person, be a kind person. If you're able to recognize the physical manifestations when you have those negative emotions, take a deep breath, detach from those emotions, take the LPDS step back, and remove yourself from those negative situations. You'll be minimizing the negative shit in your life. And you have now the capacity and the space mentally and emotionally to go focus on more positive, productive things like exercising. And number three, be genuinely grateful, thankful, and grateful for all the good you have in your lives. And you can do this each and every day by taking some time, taking a few seconds to think about something good in your life, one good thing, and what your life would be like without it. And that will put you in a state of gratitude. And from there, you can take action in that gratitude. Here's a quick example. Being able to go grocery shopping and then come to your house and you have a house with a fridge full of groceries, a pantry full of food. Think about like the homeless people who don't have any of that. Think about your life as a homeless bum. And unless the LPDS live stream team and the bullpen GM are going out there to give you money to do some bums on baseball interviews, you're stuck out there fending for yourself. And an action you can take in that gratitude moment, that moment of gratitude, is maybe inviting your friends over for a meal. Maybe bringing some food over to one of the bums. But taking action to show like, hey, I have a lot of good shit here, so I want to help pay it forward a little bit. That's just one example, one silly example. But the more you're in that state of gratitude, the easier it will be to remove yourself from the negative situations and not be a shitty person, and the more capacity you'll have to go focus on more positive, productive things in your lives, like exercising. And doing all those things combined, a little bit more each and every day, will get you out of that, of course it happens to me, mindset, and will change things. And I promise you, you'll be a better, happier, kinder, healthier, less stressed, more genuine human being, be able to spread that positivity and goodness to all those around you and throughout the land. Thank you guys again for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe and tell your friends and enemies and hit the hotline 202-670-1114. Miss the hotline calls. Call it up. Anything you got. Questions, comments, jokes, feedback. Tell me I missed something. Tell me I'm wrong on something if I missed anything, if I am wrong. Whatever you got. Shit talk me. I don't care. Prank call. Whatever. 202-670-1114. Thank you guys again. I love you all. Stay strong.